Dear devotees, before we start the class, please let us take the blessings of the beautiful deities of ISKCON Mangaluru, Sri Radha Govinda ji. Sri Radha Govinda ji ki jai. Okay, so we are supposed to start from here. Section 4. Yes, Prabhuji. 15.5.17 to 26. Liberation by focus on the super soul. Okay, so 5.17. Tad buddhayas tad atmanas tan nishtas tad parayanaha gachanti apunar avrittim Jnana Nirdhuta Kalmashaha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. Okay, here they're saying that when this knowledge is used to focus on the super soul, then one can act in a transcendental way. Enlightenment can lead to transcendence if it is focused on the super soul. So, what they are saying, trying to say in this shloka is when you fix your mind, intelligence, faith, and your total life on Krishna, you should fix everything on Krishna. Then, what will happen? Whatever doubts you have in your mind, they will go away, your sins will be washed away, and for sure, because you're practicing Krishna consciousness, you're engaging your senses, everything in the service of Krishna, your body, mind, intelligence. So your mind becomes steady, you become purified. Okay, so in the end, it is sure that you will get liberated from this material world and go back to Goloka Vrindavan. Okay, this is 5.17. 5.18. विद्याविनय संपन्ने ब्राह्मणे गविहस्तिने शनि चैव स्वपाके च पंडिता समदर्शिनः. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater outcast. So you can see in the PPT, right? How a Krishna conscious person, he sees a dog or a cow or a Brahmana or a Chandala or an elephant all on the same platform. Why? Because he no longer sees, identifies everybody with the body. So he sees everyone on the platform of soul and the super soul, soul and super soul present in that body. Okay, so he no longer sees the, he understands that be it a cow or an elephant or a dog or a dog eater, all have the same spirit soul within, and Krishna as Paramatma within the heart. So the bodies may vary because because of material nature and their past karma, right? Because of their past karma, they will take different bodies. But spiritually, all living beings are equal in quality, and the soul is eternal, conscious, and blissful. It means the nature of the soul is Sat Chit Ananda. Okay, Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge, Ananda means blissful. Blissful means increasing happiness. So, along with the soul who is present, the super soul is present. What does the super soul do? He is guiding everybody sitting inside the heart. Okay, so that's why a Krishna conscious person, he never gives importance to the outside body. He knows that the body is temporary and it will perish. But inside the body is the soul, which is eternal. Okay, and it is Sachidananda. And along with the soul is the super soul. So that's why he understands that the nature of the soul is common for everybody. It is not changing like how the body changes. So that's why he sees everybody when he sees everybody on the platform of soul. See, generally, when we go to the temple, we even though they are devotees, even, like for example, a auto driver comes and sits beside you, you look at him like this because he is low in status to you, right? But a true Krishna conscious person, he sees that person, that auto driver, also as a soul. He doesn't give importance to the body. Oh, he's taken the body of auto driver. Oh, he how dare he sit beside me. So he never thinks all this. So he sees that okay, I'm a soul, he is also a soul on the platform of soul, and the nature of the soul is Satchidananda, right? He never gives importance to the external body, right? So 17 and 18, same thing is being explained here. When one fixes his consciousness on the super soul, his intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are focused. He is free from doubts because he has the knowledge of three doers. So who are the three doers we discussed yesterday? Would anybody like to share? Anybody?
Mataji,
Yes, Prabhuji, please.
living entity, material nature, and the super soul.
Haribol, yes, Prabhuji, perfect, perfect. Yeah, so he's free from doubts because he has knowledge of the three doers, and he sees that the super soul is sanctioning but impartial. Okay, so what? The living entity, he is the initiator. From him come the desires. Like, you see, people like us are living entities, right? We have many desires. So when we have any desires, what do? We put it in front of the Lord. So Lord is the sanctioner. Okay, and when Lord, depending on our karma, whether it should be done or not, depending on that, He sanctions or not, it's up to Him. But if He sanctions, then it is implemented by Prakriti, third doer. Okay, so like that. So sees with equal vision because he has knowledge, he is not this body, and knowledge of the super soul. Okay, so he does not see people on the bodily platform, he sees on the platform of soul. That's why he sees everybody with equal vision. So 5.19, इहैव तैर्जितः सर्गो येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म तस्मात् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. So here they are saying a person whose mind is fixed in equality and balance, he has already conquered birth and death, even while living in this world. Okay, such a devotee, he no longer identifies with the material body and is free from attraction and hatred. So he is way beyond the dualities. That is what they're trying to say here. Because he's steady in mind, he's practicing Krishna consciousness, right? So his mind is steady. So he is beyond the dualities. So see, he sees everything with spiritual understanding, and that's why he remains steady in happiness and distress. So he's not excited when something he gets too much of a profit. He does not jump into there, or when he gets a loss, he does not undergo distress. So he's steady because he's practicing Krishna consciousness. His mind is steady. He takes both of them, profit or loss, on the same level. Okay. So, because his mind is steady, he rises above the dualities of material life. So, such a person is already situated in Brahman even before leaving this body. So, even before he is liberated, he is in Brahman because he is situated on that. What do you say? His mind is steady, and he is risen above the dualities. So he does not need to wait for death to become liberated. He's already liberated while staying on this in this material world. So he is a Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta means what? He is liberated while living in this material world. Okay. So symptoms of a self-realized person. Na prahrishyet प्रियं प्राप्य नोद्विजेत् प्राप्य चाप्रियं स्थिरबुद्धिरसम्मूढो ब्रह्मविद् ब्रह्मणि स्थितः. So translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the signs of God, is already situated in transcendence. Actually, all these translations are self explanatory. I mean, I think by now all of you must have understood that Krishna consciousness is the sum and substance of everything. Okay, so here in this verse, it describes the clear signs of a self realized or a Krishna conscious person. Okay, so Krishna conscious person, he knows spiritual truth, and so that's why he does not become over happy when something pleasant comes, and he does not become disturbed when something unpleasant comes. Why? Because he clearly understands. See, I'm not this body, and then he knows that I mean, a Krishna conscious person, he knows that he is an eternal soul. He is a part and parcel of Krishna. So happiness and distress come to the body, not to the soul. See, all these outward emotions, they come from the body and not from the soul. That a Krishna conscious person, he understands that. So that's why he remains steady and calm both in gain and loss, because he understands they're coming from the body and not from the soul. Okay, so this steadiness is called sthira buddhi. So they're telling in the third line of the shloka, right? Sthira buddhi. Okay, so such a person is called sthira buddhi. Sthira buddhi means what? Fixed intelligence. So he is not confused because he does not mistake the temporary body to be the self, and he does not think that the body is permanent. So, because he has this clear knowledge, he understands the complete science of God. What is the complete science of God? The three stages of realization: Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Okay, so and he understands that the highest is Bhagavan, Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. So he knows the complete science, like what is Brahman. So Brahman means the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. Paramatma means meditating on super soul in the heart, and Bhagavan means his person, right? So worshipping Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. Okay, so he understands all that. So he knows his real position. What is the real position of the soul? Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. I'm an
Yes.
eternal, yeah, I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. So this proper understanding is called Brahman realization. Okay, so he understands that he is not the body, he is the soul, and the what is the duty of the soul? Swabhava of the soul is to serve the Lord. Okay, and one more thing is like he rises above dualities, because a person who's practicing Krishna consciousness, his mind, his senses are engaged in serving Krishna. That's why his mind is steady, intelligence is steady, everything is steady. So he rises above the dualities. So he does not cry for something, I didn't get this. He is above the dualities. When he gets something, he's too happy. He's not like that. Or when he doesn't get what he expects, he's like sad. So he's not like that. So he's steady. Okay, he rises above the dualities. So such a person is situated to be in the state of Brahman. He's self-realized. Okay, so 5.21. Such a translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance. So these Krishna conscious devotees, they are not attracted by outside sense pleasure. They always find happiness from within because they understand that they're the soul, right, and they try to get happiness internally. Okay, in this way the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the supreme. Okay, so in this verse, they explain where real happiness comes from. So, a self realized or a Krishna conscious person, he is not attached to external sense pleasures. He understands that pleasure coming from the senses is temporary and is always followed by disturbance. That's why he doesn't he does not chase, or he does not go beyond, go for all those temporary pleasures. So instead, what he does, he enjoys happiness within the self. How? By being connected to Krishna. Okay, this inner happiness comes from Brahma Yoga. What is Brahma Yoga? Brahma Yoga means living in constant relationship with Krishna by practicing devotional service. So, when one gets that higher taste or that spiritual pleasure, lower material pleasures automatically lose their attraction, right? What is the test of spiritual advancement? So this is the real test of spiritual advancement. So as the attachment to Krishna increases, attachment to sense pleasure decreases. So if you are progressing in Krishna consciousness, you can test yourself like this. If your attachment to Krishna is increasing, and at the same time attachment to sense pleasure is decreasing, then you are progressing in Krishna consciousness. Automatically contest by yourself. If the taste for Krishna is increasing and the taste for material pleasure is reducing. Okay, but not by force, right? You get that taste not by force. Like we see, right, the Gnanis and the Ashtanga yogis, what do? They control their senses by force. But here, a Krishna conscious person, he does not control his senses by force. He naturally he engages his eyes in seeing the beautiful form of Krishna, and the tongue to taste prasadam and talk about Krishna, and the ears to listen to Harikatha. So naturally, he gives a positive engagement, not by force. Okay, and because this happiness comes from the soul's connection with Krishna, it is called, I mean, it is unlimited and never ending, because it is coming from Krishna, who is unlimited and never ending. And when we are connected to Krishna, we also get a chance to experience that never ending, unlimited happiness. So, material pleasure, it finishes quickly, it is temporary, but spiritual happiness, that's why they call it as blissful. Blissful means what? It keeps increasing, right? Every second it keeps increasing. It's just not constant, it keeps increasing, right? So this is the kind of happiness that we get when we practice Krishna consciousness. So 5.22. ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुःखयोनय एव ते आदि अन्तवन्तः कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधः. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to the contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise men do not delight in them. So here Krishna is explaining that sense pleasures born from contact with the body and senses are actually the source of misery, not happiness. See, these sense pleasures, they may look attractive in the beginning, but they always end in misery and dissatisfaction and suffering. Why? Because they come from the senses and not from the soul. That is the first reason. Okay, they come from the senses. And second is they are temporary, because the body itself is temporary. And third, they lead to repeated bondage, keeping us stuck in this material life. Okay, when we do any sense gratification, we are expecting that we want the result for ourselves. So because of which, you get good or bad reactions. So many times I've told you this, good or bad reactions. So we have to come back to this material world to enjoy that good or bad reactions. So, and like this, you'll be caught up in this cycle of birth and death. So, the more material desires you have, means that more you will get attached to this material place, material world. Okay. So that is one, those are the three reasons. So, what does an intelligent person here? They're saying Buddha understands, an intelligent person, he understands this truth. That's why he does not take pleasure in sense enjoyment, even if it is available to him. And what is real pleasure? So, real pleasure is spiritual and it is experienced by yogis and devotees who are connected to Krishna. Okay, and once the Krishna conscious person he tastes this transcendental bliss, material enjoyment feels cheap and meaningless. See, once you get a higher taste for something, you don't even feel like looking at the below things, right? You always tend to go for the higher thing, higher taste. Lower taste you neglect. So like that, a Krishna conscious person, when he tastes that transcendental bliss, material enjoyment feels like it is cheap and it is of no use, it is meaningless, he feels. Okay, and one more thing we should understand, see, this human life is not meant for struggling hard like animals just to satisfy the senses, right? That we have been doing in many crores of janmas in lower species like animals, birds, and all we've been doing. What we have been doing? Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. So if we do the same thing, even in I mean, what animals are doing, if we do the same thing now as humans, so what is the difference? Big difference between humans and animals, right? So human life is meant for purification. It is meant for tapasya and doing Krishna consciousness, right? And once we practice Krishna consciousness, we get unlimited spiritual happiness. So, what do we understand from the shloka? So, the more we run after sense pleasure, the more we become trapped in this material world. The more we turn towards Krishna, the more we become free and joyful. We get liberated from this material world. Okay? So, you can see this example here. Okay, here. See, the fish here is, I mean, like each senses they're telling about. So, if you see the deer has a taste for hearing. So, when the hunter he blows a nice tune, it gets attracted to that tune and it comes and stands in front of the hunter. And so now it becomes easy for the hunter to catch the deer. Okay, so each of these things that you see here, one sense organ is, I mean, like, what do you say? Because of one sense organ, they got into trouble. See, the human being is in trouble because of all the five senses, right? We use all the five senses. With the eyes we try to watch movies, serials, whatnot we see, and with the ears we try to hear music of Bollywood, Hollywood, whatnot, and with the tongue we try to eat meat, intoxication, whatnot. Okay, and then what with the nose we try to smell all weird smells. Okay, what not we do? See, just because these animals they faced, I mean, because of one sense organ, one sense, they face so much trouble. How about the human being who is attracted with all these organs, sense? I mean, like with the eyes, the ears, the nose, the touch, all are there. So how cautious we should be. And now you see the elephant, right? The sense of touch, because it wanted the touch of the she elephant. I know the she elephant, I mean, like it is trained actually, so that the he elephant is made to fall in the pit. So it brings him till the edge of the pit, and then the he elephant falls in into that pit. It's trapped. Okay, and the fish, it finds so much food in the ocean, but still, when it sees that there is a fish or a worm attached to that hook, it eats that only. It gets, the tongue is, I mean, here they're talking about sense. So it gets attracted to that worm or this thing, and it gets, I mean, like when it tries to eat that worm, the hook comes and gets attached in its mouth and it dies. Okay, and like that, the fireflies also, they get attracted by fire. I mean, that light. They know that, they see that the firefly in front is dying. When it falls in the fire, attracted by the fire, it falls and dies. But still, it can't resist. It still goes and it also gets attracted by that fire and it gets burnt. And the next is like the honeybee. Honeybee is so attracted by this what do you say, the honey in the flower,
Mm.
so it goes and sits in that this thing, and it gets trapped in that, what do you say, when we taste that honey, it is so, it becomes so intoxicated that it just sits there like that for some time. And what happens is, when it becomes night, the flower, the lotus in the night, it gets closed, right? All of you must be knowing, it gets closed. By the time it wants to get out, it's not able to get out, so it gets trapped in the flower, and it thinks that it will go out in the morning as soon as the flower opens. But because we don't know how fate is, that night, sometimes what happens, the elephants come in the night. So they come and they splash and they stamp the flowers, and this honeybee also dies in that stampede. So, how dangerous it is. See, each sense organ is so powerful that it takes us away. I mean, like, right, takes us away far. So we should be very careful. And human being is like in trouble because all these five senses pull him in five different directions. If we saw, right, all these animals, only one sense organ is pulling them in one direction. But for the human being, all the five senses pull us in five different directions, right? So we have to be very careful. That's why we have to engage our senses in Krishna consciousness, right? That is the only way out for us. So शक्नोति हैव यः सोढुं प्राक् शरीर विमोक्षणात् कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगं स युक्तः स सुखी नरः. Tolerate agitations till the end of life. So, translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger. So, what are they saying? Before we give up this body, we should try to control the urges for what? The material senses. That is, they're saying don't go for material sense gratification, like how we saw earlier, right? Each animal is getting attracted towards sense gratification through one sense. But human being, he's pulled in all the five directions by the five senses, right? So that's why they are saying we should try to tolerate, control that pulling of the material senses, and that is possible by Krishna consciousness, right? And what else to do? Check the force of desire and anger. Okay, we should control our desires and anger. So these are the two main things that stop us from our spiritual progress: desire and anger. Then he is well situated and is happy in this world. So if he can do this, he is well situated and happy in this world. So this verse gives us a very practical test of spiritual life. So Krishna says that real success, he's saying here, is not after death, but right now while living in this body. So if a person can tolerate and control the strong urges of desire and anger, then he is truly advancing in yoga and is actually happy. So the what are the two main enemies of the soul? Desire and anger. What happens when your desires are uncontrolled? It leads to frustration. See, if your desire is not fulfilled, what happens? It leads to frustration, and frustration, it turns into anger. And when you're in anger, you know how your body is like, it is burning red. So all the parts of your body are agitated. So this, it disturbs the mind, the senses, and even the whole body. So that's why Srila Prabhupada explains that a serious spiritual person must learn sense control. Okay, and in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that we must control what? Six things we must control. What? First, Prabhupada says, urge to talk unnecessarily. We must control that. Urge to talk unnecessarily. Next, what we must control? Anger. Next, third, restless mind. Next, what we should control? Overeating. Next, sexual urges. Next, tongue, taste. Okay, that we should control. So, one who controls all these is called a Goswami. Okay, one who can control his senses is called a Goswami. So we should not control our senses artificially, like as I always we have said, right? Don't eat this, don't see that. Not like that. We in Krishna consciousness, what happens? As one engages the senses in serving Krishna, what happens? These urges naturally weaken. Naturally, it happens. No force, nothing. We don't have to forcefully stop all these engagements. Just by engaging our senses and serving Krishna, all these urges they automatically they weaken. Okay, and then the person becomes properly connected to the Lord. So when he's connected in Krishna consciousness, such a person he is truly happy. Why? Because he's no longer his happiness is no longer shaken by lust, anger, or any external situation.
Mataji,
Yes, Prabhuji.
Mat Mataji, what are these six urges?
That's what Prabhuji here. The urge to talk, anger, restless mind, overeating, sexual urges, tongue. So these are the six things that we have to take control over. Okay, Prabhuji. The urge to
Yes,
talk. Yeah, urge to talk means our speech, anger, restless mind, overeating. Okay, sexual urges, tongue. So these we must try to control. Okay. So these all these will be you'll be learning in L3 Prabhuji. Like we have a book called Nectar of Instruction where we'll be learning about all these in more detail. Okay. So just for now, if
yes.
you can just understand, if we can just control these, they are called a Goswami. Okay. Okay. And how long do I have to tolerate the pushing of the senses? So how long do I have to tolerate? So the answer to that is given here. Okay, until when must I tolerate the urges of the senses? Until the death of a body. So till that time you have to control your senses. How? By practicing Krishna consciousness. Okay, so that is very easy for us, right? We just engage the senses in devotional service. So that's easy for us until the death of the body. We can easily do that. But if we try to do it forcefully, it is very difficult. We can't control for a longer time. But if we engage the senses in a positive way by practicing Krishna consciousness, that is by doing devotional service, we can do it. Okay. Where does one get the strength to tolerate the sensual urges? By focusing his happiness, activities, and goal inward. By that means they're saying indirectly by practicing Krishna consciousness. He knows that he's the soul and he gets connected to the super soul, and then he feels happiness within from inside. Okay. He engages in purifying his external activities by working for the benefit of others. Okay, so he engages in purifying his like outside. See, what is the best preaching that person can do is like educating in telling him the benefit of Krishna consciousness, because everybody in the material world is suffering, right? He does not know that he's a soul. They are on a bodily platform. So when he knows, when the devotee tells him that you're a soul, your duty is to get connected to Krishna and not staying here. If you stay here, you get attached in this material world. You will nicely get kicks from Maya. You'll get a lot of distress, pain, suffering, and you're not meant to be here. You're not this body, you're the soul. So the devotees try to educate them of the real welfare. So you're not supposed to be staying here. You're supposed to stay with your supreme eternal father in Goloka Vrindavan, where there is only happiness. There is no distress, pain, suffering. Okay, so they engage in purifying his external activities by working for the benefit of others. Okay, by doing this, what happens? obviously the devotee is assured liberation. So now let's see Shloka 24. Okay, one whose happiness is within, who is active within, who rejoices within, and is illumined within, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. So here this verse explains who a real yogi is and where real happiness comes from. So a true yogi, he does not depend on outside things for happiness. His joy comes from within, from the soul's connection with Krishna. So because of this inner happiness, he is what? Peaceful and satisfied. So he does not want any external enjoyment. Okay, from within he is peaceful, and because of that inner happiness he is peaceful and he is satisfied. And such a person is active within. So we should not think that this means laziness or inactivity because he's happy from within. So it means that he's spiritually engaged internally, remembering Krishna, serving him, and relishing spiritual realization. Okay, so he is remembering. See, inside he's, like he's spiritually engaged internally. So he's remembering Krishna, he's serving him, and he's relishing that spiritual realization. So his aim, a Krishna conscious devotee, his aim is inward and not towards the sense pleasure outside. He does not want fame or material success or nothing outside. So he's looking for that happiness within, inside. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada explains that unless one gets a taste, higher taste, that is what is the highest stage? Taste, that is spiritual happiness. It is impossible to give the lower material happiness. Until he gets that higher spiritual taste, people will always keep thinking that this material happiness itself is the highest. Okay, so you have to get a taste in that higher spiritual happiness. Otherwise, you will still remain in that. You will think that that is the only happiness. A lower, you'll still stay in that lower material happiness. That's why a liberated person or a Krishna conscious person, he can sit anywhere and he can feel joyful because his happiness is not dependent on people, objects, or situations. External things, it is not dependent. It comes from within, right? So he can be peaceful and joyful wherever he is. Okay, it is not dependent on people, objects, or any situation. So this state is called Brahma Bhuta. Brahma Bhuta means self-realization. So in this stage, the soul, soul understands that I am not the body, I am part and parcel of Krishna. I am soul. He understands that. So when he understands that, such a person, he is already liberated while living. And he is assured of Brahma Nirvana. Brahma Nirvana means what? Liberation in the Supreme. So he understands, he merges into the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. Okay. So so here this are trying to say in the shloka, so real happiness is inside, it is not outside. So the yogis, they enjoy Krishna from, he enjoys from inside by practicing Krishna consciousness. So such a person is already liberated and he's sure to go back to Krishna. Okay, let's see 25. So actually all these are self-explanatory. You all must be understanding before I explain itself. When a person is actually in the knowledge that Krishna is the fountainhead of everything, then when he acts in that spirit, he acts for everyone. The sufferings of humanity are due to forgetfulness of Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend. Okay, so in this verse, Lord Krishna, he explains who actually attains liberation and what real welfare work means. Okay, who attains Brahma Nirvana or liberation? So Krishna gives four qualities. Okay, so he says one who can attain Brahma Nirvana or liberation, one who is free from sins. So their hearts are cleansed by devotional service. So because sinful reactions are removed, their spiritual vision becomes clear. Okay, when you start practicing devotional service, you start getting purified from within. You start chanting, reading Prabhupada books, and you start hearing speeches, you start doing devotional service, you slowly start getting purified of all your sinful reactions, because of which you are able to see everything more clearly in a spiritual platform. Next, next is you become free from doubts and dualities. Okay, so uh, they no longer have doubts and everything, so that I mean, what do you say, they are fixed in understanding that Krishna is the supreme lord, so they have that faith, they have no doubt, they're like fixed. They understand that Krishna is the supreme lord, he's the supreme enjoyer, he's the proprietor, and he is the friend. And next, third, okay, who attains liberation or Brahma Nirvana. Third is one who's absorbed in self realization. Okay, self realization means what? Their minds are turned inward towards the soul and the super soul, not outward towards temporary sense pleasure. Okay, and fourth, who gets liberated? One who's engaged in the welfare of all living beings. This is very important. Last point is very important. So, what is the real welfare work? Real welfare work is Krishna consciousness. See, example, Hare Krishna, one second. Hello? Okay. So, a real welfare work they're saying is Krishna consciousness. See, temporary things like feeding the body, that gives temporary relief, and you go to schools for material education to that is also temporary improvement, right? Hello? Huh? Sir. 1 minute. నేను కన్నడలో మాట్లాడుతున్నాడు, నాకు ఏదో పార్సల్ వస్తుంది, అది నువ్వు మాట్లాడు. సార్ మళ్ళీ నా ఫోన్ తీసుకో, అయితే బయట ఉంటే ఫోన్ నాకు ఇవ్వు, నాకు కావాలి. బయట ఉంటే సైన్ పెట్టి తీసుకో. Okay, so feeding the body and educating the mind, by giving temporary, all this is temporary, but what is permanent? Awakening one's relationship with Krishna gives permanent benefit. So people are suffering here in this material world because they forgot Krishna. So when a devotee helps others revive this forgotten relationship, he benefits everyone. So that is why only a liberated Krishna conscious person can truly work for the welfare of all living beings. Okay, so the highest welfare work is to help others remember Krishna, and those who do that will attain liberation in the Supreme. Okay, definitely they will get liberation. Okay, so 26. So, material desires who are self realized, self disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future. So, 26. So, in this verse, Lord Krishna. Wait. సార్ ఎక్కడున్నారు? అడగని వాడు డౌట్ ఉంటే కన్ఫర్మ్ చేస్తాను. వస్తాడు, నేను ఇప్పుడు క్లాస్ మధ్యలో ఉన్నాను, కావాలి. మళ్ళీ కాల్. Okay, so in this verse, Lord Krishna, he confirms with assurance who will attain liberation very soon. So he's saying assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future. Who will get guaranteed liberation? So Krishna is saying, one who is freed from, 1 second, 20.
Mataji, it was the second poster on the
Sorry,
bottom. Mataji,
Yeah.
it was the second poster from the bottom,
No,
which
that is
has
over,
Lord
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Also we no, that is over, Prabhuji. 25 we finished. 26, this one we are on the right hand side one, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Yeah. So I read. Hello, Harihash. బయట వచ్చాం సార్, మీరు రాలేదంట. ఇంకా ఎక్కడున్నారు మీరు? గేట్ దగ్గర గ్రీన్ సార్ ఏదండి? నాకు అర్థంగా. మీరు అది కెవెలియర్ హాస్టల్, బాయ్స్ హాస్టల్ ఉంది సార్. అక్కడ సార్, ఆ పక్కన ఆపోజిట్ హౌసే. కాదు సార్, మీరు అక్కడే కెవెలియర్ హాస్టల్, బాయ్స్ హాస్టల్ ఉంటుంది, దానికి ఆపోజిట్ హౌసే సార్. అవునండి. అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఎక్కడున్నారు మీరు? అయితే జస్ట్ ఈ పక్కకు వచ్చేసేయండి సార్. వచ్చి నాకు చెప్పండి, నేను వస్తాను బయటకి. ఓకే ఓకే ఓకే, థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. I'm so sorry, actually I got a delivery. I had to take the call. So here Krishna is telling who is guaranteed liberation. So Krishna is saying one who is free from material desires and anger. So actually desire and anger are the main enemies of spiritual life. So when one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, these naturally weaken. Naturally they weaken, okay, when you just practice Krishna consciousness. And next, one who is self-realized. Second, Krishna is saying self-realized. He knows that I am not this body, I am the eternal soul, servant of Krishna. And third, who who is guaranteed liberation is self-disciplined and mind is controlled. So his mind is trained by devotional service and it is not by force. Okay, when the senses are automatically engaged in devotional service, the mind is also controlled and the intelligence is also controlled. So everything is controlled by devotional service. So such people are guaranteed liberation. And fourth point, Krishna says those who are always striving for perfection. So he is sincere and serious about spiritual advancement. So these four people are sure to get that Brahma Nirvana, freedom from material miseries, very soon. Okay. And yes, Prabhuji.
Mataji, which was the first one?
So first one, if you see from the shloka, it is free from material desires and anger, Prabhuji. Okay, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. Okay, so actually our next 6th chapter is going to be about Ashtanga Yoga. So they're just giving a hint here in the shloka 27 and 28, little bit of what Ashtanga Yoga is they're trying to give. And in the next 6th chapter, it will be totally about Ashtanga Yoga. So let's just see what Krishna says in these 2 shlokas about Ashtanga Yoga. Sparshan Kritva Bahirbahyams चक्षुश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवुः प्राणापानौ समौ कृत्वा नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ यतेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धिर्मुनिर्मोक्षपरायणः विगतेच्छाभयक्रोधो यः सदा मुक्त एव सः. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shutting out all external sense objects. See, what do the Ashtanga yogis do? I mean, all of you must already be knowing because you got a glimpse in L1. Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the 2 eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, that is pranayama, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence. So that is by force they control all the mind, senses, and intelligence. The transcendentalist, that is the Ashtanga yogi, aiming at liberation, becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. So, one who is always in the state of mind is already liberated. So here they're talking about Ashtanga Yogi. So the process how a Ashtanga Yogi attains liberation. So he has to focus like half closed eyes. His eyes are not wide open or fully closed, half open, half closed. And the eyes should be focused in the center of the eyebrows. Okay, and then he has to do pranayama, inward outward control of breaths, and then he has to what you say, control the senses, the mind and intelligence by force. So he says don't look there, don't eat this, don't see this. So he has to do that. So do after doing all that, he gets free from desire, fear and anger, and then after that finally he becomes liberated. See how difficult this process is. Actually, if you go in detail in the next chapter, they will tell you the eightfold path system of Ashtanga Yoga, where Yama means Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, all Pratyahara. So there are 8 ways how they try to control one by one. Okay, Yama means what are the do's. Niyama means what you should not do, and they have to sit straight, the back straight. I mean, to sit properly also, it takes some years, it seems. Right? So we'll learn more in detail about Ashtanga Yoga. So Ashtanga Yoga is very difficult. Prabhupada says that's why you have to, practice all these different kinds of exercises, sitting posture. You have to put your focus your, like half closed eyebrows into the center of the, eyebrows. You have to focus your attention. You have to do pranayama. You have to do exercises, different kinds of weird exercises. So, doing all this, you have to forcefully control your mind, senses, intelligence. So, all this Prabhupada says is practically not applicable for people in Kali Yuga. So, the best way Prabhupada says is Krishna consciousness is the best way for us to practice. Ashtanga Yoga is not applicable for this age, Prabhupada says. Okay, so 29 and the last shloka. भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसां सर्वलोकामहेश्वरं सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिमृच्छति. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. So here, Krishna is giving the 3 P's formula. 3 P's, I mean, 3 P's means what? The peace formula Krishna is giving. So, what is the peace formula that is Krishna is giving? When can you attain peace? When you know these 3 P formula. What is that 3 P formula? When you know that Krishna is the enjoyer of all work, sacrifice, and austerity. Okay, so when you understand that Krishna is the only enjoyer and not you, so you should understand that. So Krishna is the enjoyer of all work or sacrifice, austerity. That is the first thing. And when you understand that Krishna is the supreme lord of all planets, demigods, and living beings. Okay, he is the supreme lord of everything, all planets, demigods, and living beings. That is the second point. And third is Krishna is the best friend and well-wisher of everyone. Third point. Okay, so we should understand that when we understand these 3 points, can we be in real peace? But out of ignorance, the soul, he tries to enjoy. He thinks that when he thinks out of false ego that he's the body, and he thinks that I am the enjoyer, I am the master, everything in this material world is for my enjoyment. Okay, and when he tries to do that, finally it ends in anxiety. So when we work for Krishna's pleasure, desire and anger are conquered. They naturally weaken when we do devotional service. Okay, they reduce. Okay, and senses come under control. Then peace naturally appears, even when you're living in this material world. So for everything, Krishna consciousness is the only solution for you to get your peace. Okay, so all that desire, anger naturally weakens when you do devotional service, and all your senses, they become senses become peaceful. Then when the senses are peaceful, the mind becomes steady. When the mind is steady, intelligence becomes steady. So then overall everything becomes peaceful, even when you're living in this material world. Okay, so we should understand that Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the enjoyer and not we. And he is our friend. And he is the supreme lord of all planets, demigods, and living beings. When we understand that, we get the ultimate real peace. Okay, so with this, we'll finish this chapter, and we'll try to close here. And the sixth chapter